Okay, ladies and gent. We
Mhm.
happy, yes, happy Monday to everybody. We are, oh my goodness, what, the third week of January already? Is this
January
right?
already.
Oh,
Already.
Cannot believe it.
third week of January. So today's episode is going to be awesome because we have a couple on today. We have Paul and Trudy. And Trudy is going to be listening more, but she'll jump on when she can. But we're really going to be having a discussion with Paul to discuss about, have a really great conversation with you, Paul, about how you are navigating menopause with Trudy. So we have a bunch of questions. We're going to just have a great chit chat. But first, let me welcome Paul and Trudy to this amazing episode. Natalie and I've been dying to do this.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Definitely. Love having you. Okay, so let's just jump straight in. Natalie was amazing with her questions, but I'd love to just give me a general before we dig into specifics. What would you say your experience has been like with Trudy from when you first noticed to now, or let's just give me a little general before we get into specifics.
Um, the changes aren't much. I think one of the most readily identifiable change is weight. Um, uh, Other than that, the normal thing that you hear about, I haven't really experienced much of that or any of that. So that is what I can say.
Well, okay, so I love how you just led into one of my questions, Paul. So
Mhm.
what did you know when you say one of the things you normally know about? What did before Trudy started to do her investigations and you therefore by spillover started to do yours because you're a loving, caring partner? What did you know about menopause growing up as a young man, even getting into the sphere of marriage and relationship and marriage? What did you know about menopause?
To be honest, I didn't do anything other than the hot flashes and the myth that women tend to get miserable. It's not a myth, but yeah. Anyway, yeah. So I mean, those are the things that you hear about. So that is what you look for. So
Hmm.
I really didn't have anything more than that.
So hot flashes and misery. That's
Yes,
what you heard about. So, okay.
yes,
Okay. And
So
then
clearly
how,
that's the
go ahead.
umbrella. Clearly, Natalie, that's the umbrella that I think a lot of men are under. That
correct,
it's the
correct.
oh, here she goes, she's moody. Oh,
Hmm.
there she goes, she's
Hmm.
hot flashing. So it's almost like a little umbrella that okay, that makes a lot of sense. Go ahead, Nat.
And would you say that within your cohort of men, like your man friend them, would that be the popular opinion of what menopause is? Moody and
Yeah, I
hot
think
flashes?
yeah, I think in yeah, I think most men have that
That
concept.
preconception.
Yes.
Gotcha. And then what was it that started to oh, has your opinion transformed? Has your awareness transformed?
Well, thanks to yourself and Nikki, I was fortunate enough to attend your menopause conference, and that gave me an insight into what is really going on with women, um, what to expect. It just gave me more insight and actually allowed me to understand um, the difficulties that women face and
Hmm.
what to look out for.
Okay.
So
So
what even prompted you to even think about, because if a woman just gets old, miserable, and gets hot flashes, so, and men, their typical thing is, boy, just allow the woman their space, kind of thing, right? What was it that shifted in you to say, huh? Let me learn a little bit more about this thing. What was that pivotal point for you? Like, why did you even come to the menopause conference?
Well, one, I always like to learn about women. Yeah. So it
Mm-hmm.
helps me to navigate them. But also I found that as I got over 50, I realized that there were some changes in me, and I probably couldn't explain it fully. I know it was probably andropause, but as to what it entailed, the details of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I heard about the conference, I decided to go just to learn what was happening, and that actually gave me insight as to what I was going through for myself.
Mm.
Wow, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Very interesting. So you talked about the first thing you noticed with Trudy was the weight gain. Was there moodiness, or were they, I mean, what else was there that you felt like, okay, I need to start navigating this?
Thankfully, Trudy by nature is not a moody person. Um, so I didn't experience much of that or any of that. Um, or maybe I was just, they say love is blind, so I didn't really see it. Um,
Oh.
um, but her normal complaint was that, you know, she has gained all this weight all of a sudden, and she's so. For example, when we are exercising and we are doing our detoxing and we are doing everything, um, the changes aren't as pronounced as she would like them to be, and that I think that kind of got us, thinking as to what could it be that is causing, this sudden shift. So yeah.
So I mean, we talk about as Natalie said, you are a loving, supporting partner, a husband, but being able to support her through this weight gain and not, what would you say has been you have found the most challenging about supporting her through this? Maybe it's a weight gain, maybe it's something else. What have you
Uh,
found most
the
challenging?
the most challenging is, well, I am very, I like to 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 I don't want to say tease. Tease might be the wrong word, but I like to run jokes about these things. And I know sometimes when I do that, it I know she doesn't take it in good light sometimes.
I'm going to
Um,
jump in here. Paul is very mischievous and playful,
yeah, but
right?
but I know sometimes it's a means of challenging her. Um, yeah, it's a means of challenging her. It's not to belittle her in any way. Um, and it's just fun because for me, I know I'm going through the same thing, and I'm putting on this weight at times. It's easier for me to lose it. So I know we both have these challenges, So a little jive here and there sometimes. Um, yeah, and it's, as I said, it's just a means of challenging her, and for both of us to look at
And
what
what I'm
we're doing.
hearing is that she responds positively because she's a pleasant person.
She
So this
is,
is your way of keeping it kind of light.
yes, yes. Even though
All right.
sometimes I get threatened, um, but mhm.
Well,
And threatened. I love that.
yeah,
Go
well,
ahead, Nikki. Sorry.
yeah, no, I mean, I would say that some men would have to tread lightly because you would have to know your partner or your wife because if they're
Hmm.
not as loving as Trudy is to accept, you might get a kunk on your head or something else worse. But
Oh
Mhm.
yes, because when my man says, "Yeah, but you're getting old," and so what you expect, going through menopause, you're getting old. He's preparing for a kunk on the back of his head. I don't
no,
take lightly to it.
it sounds like a general statement we hear from men quite a bit. But let me ask you this question, Paul. Are there specific things or areas that she has asked or needs help
Mm.
during this time in
You
support?
mean in terms of ways of support? Yes, that's a
Yeah.
great question. Yeah.
Um, no, she hasn't asked. I just support her in anything that she does or wants to do. Um, at this moment in time, I cannot say specifically what it is, or I don't remember. I think I've gotten in a habit of um, whatever she needs support with. I mean, we'll do it
Hmm.
together. So it's kind of automatic. So I can't give you a specific thing at this
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So that ties in into our next, discussion is communication.
point.
you
Hmm.
know I think that a communication and understanding. So I mean, how do you and Trudy communicate then about her needs or how you should help? Or I mean, do you have a conversation with each other on what do you need from me, honey? Or maybe I just shut my mouth now? Or how do you guys have that conversation?
Okay. I guess there are times when I know I need to shut my mouth, and I'll probably say it. I say, okay, I won't go any further with this because I know it's probably touching a sore point. Um,
So maintaining a level of sensitivity
yes.
and awareness. Okay.
All
Okay.
right. All right. Try. I don't want to
Okay.
sound as if I'm perfect. I try. I know I fail. Um. Uh. uh but it's as you say, it's in general. It's trying to be sensitive to her needs in whatever way. Um,
You guys
well,
don't have conversation. You would never sit down and say, honey, how can I support you today? Or I see that you're going through something rough. What can I do? Is it, or is it just like you?
I think we communicate. We have good communication, or I think so. It's just natural. If she's going through something, and or I am going through something, and if I am willing to discuss it, or if she's willing to discuss it, we just sit and just talk. So it's not like we just, we come and say, "Oh, I need this or I need this." We just talk in general, freely, open, and I guess, based on a conversation, we know what to do where. So, with regards to menopause, um, there is no specific conversation as it relates to that. So it's just a discussion in general about things that have to do with both of us.
Mhm,
And we try to navigate,
mhm.
navigate the conversation and see how best we can be there for each other, really.
So there's no specific conversation on menopause. It's just whatever's coming up at that time for her or for you.
Correct,
You
correct,
have an
correct,
open communication. Okay.
correct.
Oh, I want to jump in there, Paul, and ask when you talk to other men, right?
Mhm.
Like your men friends. Is this a similar experience that you find them having? Like, is it just in general, like, boy, they find the best way to help their lady is to just be open and communicative and supportive, or are do you find some of your friends share the fact that they're struggling with this phase of their relationship?
I haven't had mm, a lot of discussion with men on the topic. Um, but I guess it is going to depend on the type of relationship you have and the type of personality that you have. That will determine how 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 men approach these things, really.
Right, right, right. Do you think you've not had the conversation with a lot of friends because men tend to shy away from these conversations, or do you think it's just not something
Maybe
that
it's just,
comes
yeah,
up,
maybe it's
or
just not spoken about.
I don't think men talk about these things a lot per se. I mean, all you hear is, oh God, the woman miserable, but she just get miserable all of a sudden and blah blah blah. Yeah.
mm, mm,
And uh, because a lot of men grow up with the, what would I say, misconception about menopause, and we're not taught, or we haven't learned much about the whole concept. Um, a lot of us still hold on to the old ways of thinking. So I think that happens to a lot of men in Jamaica and probably worldwide too. We just
Mhm.
haven't taken the time to learn more about the topic, which I think is important that we learn because, as I said before, some of the struggles that women go through, men are experiencing it and they don't understand it. So yeah,
So, what advice would you give men on if they come up against somebody who is the same? They're, oh God, you're gone miserable and all of that. That story that men have been given over time. What advice would you give men about, okay, maybe if she's doing that, maybe you do this, or being able to communicate with their partner or wife or whoever, on digging in, getting in there. What advice would you give men?
the advice I would give to men in general is they need to, if it is possible, for example, the conference that I went to, they need to experience something like that to get a better understanding of the whole concept of menopause and what it is. And from there, I think they will be more open to understanding what their partners are going through. Um, I don't think sitting and speaking to your partner is going to really help you to understand. You need to be in an environment that teaches you what is going on, and then you can have the conversation.
I
yeah,
love
because
that.
women are learning too. We're learning about
Yes.
our, we're in a really glorious phase of time where certainly I know we've hammered this point home time and time again. Our parents didn't talk to us about change of life. Our grandparents didn't talk to us. It was something that women managed in private, and men went one side and said, yeah, the woman I get miserable. But women, we're now talking more, we're sharing more, we're learning more. And we're finally understanding why we feel different, why we don't feel like ourselves, why we don't feel like the sexy goddesses that we should feel like.
Mhm.
And as a result, I think it's a really great thing that this revolution in thought and awareness spill
Yeah.
over into our partners.
Yeah. And a
Because
lot
we
of,
choose you for life, right? Well,
yeah,
that's the
yeah,
idea, right?
right. And I think a lot of relationships get damaged
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
uh, because of the lack of understanding. Because when when both men and women are going through these stages, you know, your sex drive decreases, blah blah blah, and your partner may think that oh, you don't want to have sex with them because you're probably out there doing this or that, or you understand.
Yep.
So you need to be aware. And funnily
Mm-hmm.
enough, since I came to the conference, I remember one Friday I was listening to the radio. It was Full House Friday on
Oh,
Fame,
yes. Full
and they
House
were
Friday.
yeah, and they were actually discussing the whole menopause andropause thing, and
Mm-hmm.
it was very brief. And what I got out of it is that we really don't know, or the men on the program they really didn't know much about the whole topic. Yeah. So, as a society, we
It's
need to be
true.
aware of
I
these things.
actually hear quite a bit of misinformation. And as a matter of
Correct.
fact, sadly to report, I did hear some very strong misinformation during Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Hmm.
And I brought it to the attention of the disc jockey that was reporting. Now, I know that disc jockeys are given talking points,
Points. Correct.
right? But I reached out in support and faith and love, and with positivity in my approach, as I try to do. And I really did hope that the individual would have digested my sentiments
Hmm.
and my information and my evidence that I presented and taken it to the producers. And I really thought I would have gotten back some kind of feedback,
Correct.
and but unfortunately it appears as if my interaction there fell on deaf ears. But it was sad to me that we're still, as a nation, we're still receiving false information, and it was along the lines of HRT is going to give you breast cancer.
Exactly. I heard it.
No,
I
you
heard that,
heard it.
and
Yeah,
yes, and I was saying the same thing, and in a
yeah.
discussion with uh, I was having some discussion with some young lady recently about HRT, and her first response was no, because this thing causes cancer, and I said no, 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 you are misinformed. You're
Yeah, thank you,
misinformed.
Paul.
Yes, 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 yes. I
Help
learned.
the
I
women
learned.
out there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely. But I think it's also worldwide too, Nats, because
yeah.
when you go online and you go on Instagram and all of that, you'll see one thing that says, oh, you've got to do this. And then another post will
Mm-hmm.
say, no, that's going to cause this. And that. You really have to do your research, be in awareness and keep learning. It's a
Yeah,
learning. This is all new for us, so to speak, because it hasn't been spoken about. So now
yeah,
everybody's speaking about it.
yeah.
Well, let me ask this question.
Mm-hmm.
In our current, uh, in this current time with a lot of misinformation being spewed around,
Mm-hmm.
how do you how do you know what is the correct information from what is not?
That's a really great question. And although Nikki and I both use social media as avenues of education, right? And we are very responsible in the information that we put into the public space because we strongly protect our reputation and our integrity. There are a lot of people that just, clickbait. They're just not, they're in it for the views. So there's a lot of times that you'll see information on Instagram, on TikTok, in social media in general. And I caution people, it's not always accurate. So I love to go to the source,
Mhm.
right? So it's two things that I do. I use this a website called PubMed, and it may be a little cerebral, it may be difficult for some people to understand, but PubMed is a great website that publishes published articles, scientific articles about studies. So it is the source document that a lot of medical practitioners will go to when they are doing their research and their peer reviews and stuff like that, right? So PubMed is a great site to use. The other thing
Mhm.
is in using social media, what I do is I will have a few doctors who I have watched for a while, and I've read their material that they put out, and I see the way that they interact with the space, and I have faith and trust in them. From a gynecological perspective, I'm talking about international sites like Sarah Godfrey. She recently got divorced. I think she's gone back to Sarah Zal, SSZAL. And there's quite a few other obstetricians, gynecologists, endocrinologists, urologists who address female health conditions. And because I see the way that they treat their information, their knowledge, their patients through the social media space, I take what they say into consideration. I'm generally not going to be following the advice of an influencer.
Mm-mm.
Now, that's a little contra indicative because I myself am a micro influencer in the wellness space, and here I am putting out things of this nature. But I do try to back it up always with the science. Like I'm not gonna say, um, getting sunshine cures you of, I don't know, mood disorders, right? I'm not
Mhm.
going to come out and say something like that unless I can back it up from a scientific perspective. But that's me and my responsible nature. So I would caution people to be mindful about how they consume information in the public space because sometimes it is misinformation. And then look at the age of the information. So the whole issue about women and hormone replacement therapy and cancer came from a flawed study. So if you went back to the original study, you'll see it was a small cohort. You'll see it was women that were postmenopausal for over 15 years. You'll see that they were given
Synthetic,
HRT,
synthetic.
synthetic hormones, and that they had already been in the absence of a period for an extended period of time.
Yeah, but Nat, to take it a little deeper, I mean, if you think about that study has been out for so long and it has been there because nobody has come up to challenge it. Nobody has come up and the more that they have explored menopause and talking about that, and the doctors, Mary Claire Havel, the Sarah Godfrey, um, it hasn't been challenged. But what concerns me is men. We as women, because we talk about this is part of our life, it comes up on our feed constantly. So, but for men are, that's not coming up on their feed. What's probably coming up on your Instagram is whatever you're into, whether it's sports or cars or whatever. Menopause is not going to come up on your feed for you to, oh, let me look at that. Let me see. So my concern is, where do men go and get this information? That's why we did what we did, Nat.
Wow, Nikki, that's actually a really good question. Instagram gives you a lot of what you ask for.
Exactly. And men are not going to say, oh, what do I need to know about menopause today? And it comes. No, men are not. So where are men going to go and get this knowledge? That's my concern.
What do you think, Paul?
I'm actually thinking, you know what? In general, men have to be affected by something for them to start doing research into a particular issue. Uh,
Yes, I could say that.
Mhm. So if it's a sex
so
drive, if it's all of that,
exactly,
they will
Ex-
then dig in, or
they will,
stomach or whatever it is. Yeah.
correct, correct. So if the, let's say, for example, if the rate of prostate cancer, and I know it is high, but let's say
Hmm.
the rate of prostate
I think we lost, I think Paul's internet.
cancer was.
Oh, there. Mhm.
Hmm.
Go ahead.
Oh, you're not here?
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
good.
we're
You're
here.
Okay.
We're
good.
here.
You just froze for a
Okay.
little bit. That's okay. Continue.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I was saying that if the rate of prostate cancer was, the same as cases of breast cancer, yeah, and then I think that concern would be there for men, for them to start doing more research into the causes or possible causes of prostate cancer and stuff. Um, and that in itself would probably drive them now to be even looking at the whole andropause. And once you get into andropause, you start looking at the menopause side of things as well, because they are intertwined per se. Um, so yeah, men don't do research, quote unquote, unless it's something that is some
Yeah.
immediate.
That's a really good point. I'm gonna give you like a story. So one of the services that we offer with the body contouring machines that I have can actually help to improve erectile dysfunction in about 70% of the male population that experiences ED, right?
Oh,
And
really?
I have promoted it and promoted it and promoted it. I've gone to doctors and urologists and within my own private networks and said, I need two men
Mm,
that are experiencing erectile dysfunction to come for a series of free treatments. And not one person has taken us up on the offer.
You know,
And then
that's
at
not
one
going.
of the, it's
It's
not
not
going
going
to
to happen.
happen, right? No.
Not gonna
No.
So
happen.
this is when I got a glimpse into the male psyche.
Yeah.
I ran into at one of the conferences that I attend. I met a medical practitioner who offers the exact same service, and he said it's a cornerstone of his practice. So I said, Doc, how? I said, without giving away your trade secrets, how do you get the men to come? He says you can't address it from erectile dysfunction. You have to
Right.
address it from performance enhancement.
Mm-hmm.
So he operates in the Miami space. So he went into nightclubs, into the urinals in nightclubs, and posted a sign above the urinals. And it said, do you want that thing that you're holding right now to work better?
Mm,
Wow.
Right? So so in that space, he then got the men to recognize that, hey, if I want to be better, this guy can help me. And then I think based on what I'm hearing you is when we have the men in that space about working better, being better, then we can start to talk to them about the spillover to the women, And, you know,
mhm,
Paul, you mentioned andropause.
mhm.
That's big. And I think a lot of men don't recognize what they themselves are going through.
It's
That
not
is true.
talked about, Natalie. The way that
No.
menopause has become to the surface of everything. Every celebrity, everybody's talking about it. All it would take is for a celebrity, a male celebrity or somebody to come out and say, "Hey, I'm in andropause," and you would see how it would catch on. But the word andropause, a lot of when you say to some men, they're like, "That's not a thing."
And it sounds horrible. Like, what man is going to admit that?
Yeah. You see, men don't like to to admit the fact that their performance per se is declining. Right.
Absolutely.
Right. So, we like to keep up this facade that we are
Manly.
mariah, manly,
Mhm.
you know, while under the shade there, we're actually, declining
Mhm.
slowly and surely. Um, for me, it's easy for me to me personally to talk about these things, because I remember on my 50th birthday, you know, I was there sitting in my living room, and I said to myself, "Oh, 50, everybody talking about 50 and blah blah blah." And I said, "Oh, I felt good, rearing to go." The following day, 50 years plus 1 day, my body changed in front of me, and I could not understand what was happening to me.
Wow.
My body felt strange, and I said, what was happening? Huh? I couldn't explain what was going on. And for like, uh, I would say for a couple months, I was just sweating profusely. I was just sweating, sweating, sweating. I started slowing down. I started gaining weight. I just couldn't understand. I said, I'm not doing anything different. But my body just changed. 50 years and 1 day, and it changed now.
Wow.
So it is possible that the same type of thing has happened to a lot of men, but they are unwilling to to publicly express what is happening. Privately, they may, but
Mhm.
they are not going to express it publicly. And I think that is where we as men fall down. We don't like to talk about things. Uh, and you have again, let's go back to prostate cancer or prostate. A lot of men refuse to go in and do a prostate check, to do a colonoscopy. They
Hmm.
won't.
Hmm. It's a real
Because
thing. It's
yeah,
a
it's
real,
a real thing.
it's scary because, this menopausal journey, it does not just affect us, it affects the men. But I tie it in with, as women, we go through so much and our mood changes and our weight gain, and that's all on us. But when it spills over into, the sex life or the communication or the connection, that's what I mean by it affects men as well. And if men don't want to to own part of it like you did, I want to learn, how can I support her and us? And because you are a unit, whether you're married or you're not married, I mean, it affects relationships with your children, with your
That's
friendships.
true.
It happens.
And to
So,
be honest, sorry, and to be
no, you go
honest,
ahead. Yeah. Mhm.
men also experience these mood swings. We may not like to admit it, but we do.
I love that. I'm so glad that you've said that because I mean, we as women, we see our men going through mood swings, but a lot of times we see it and we're like, wow, oh, he's had a bad day at work. Oh, something has happened. Oh, we always,
Uh, Find
we
an
put it
excuse.
up exactly. Because if you ever said to your man, oh, I see a mood swing here happening. I wonder what's going on. Oh, they would go ballistic. So as women, I think we tend to, oh, he's had a bad day at work. Let me just, let me get him a drink or let me do this or let me stay out of his way or whatever. But not to say that he didn't have a bad day at work, but if there's a mood swing happening, ladies, you need to be aware. It is very possible that your man is going through andropause, and the two of you
Yes.
need to have that conversation. And that's why I said to you, conversation and that communication
Super
is
important. Super
important.
important. So, Paul, what is it you think is just it has to be more than just your innate nature, or if it is your innate nature, how would you guide um, a male female couple to start these conversations? Because if you hold your corner and I hold my corner, and the two of us are going through our like aging related hormonal drop off related things, then okay, let me not say the you because we're not putting this on you, but this is when a lot of the times men will now have an affair, right? Because they're trying to recapture their youth. And this
That's
is
true.
when women now will start to feel like vulnerable and unloved and unwanted. So we love each other very much, but we now evolve into this couple that we're sitting in different corners
Uh-huh.
and we're going through this thing that we could be supporting each other through and learning and loving and growing and actually helping to overcome, but we're not talking about it. So what is it that makes, if you don't have it naturally in you, what would you advise men
Oh, well,
to get
that's a,
there?
that's a hard one. Um, Let me put it this way. I almost said 10. Yeah, 10 years, 20 years ago, I don't think I could. Let me see, I'm trying to say this properly. 10, 20 years ago, I could not do what I'm doing now. I think it has to do with maturity. Uh, um, um, a man has to, a man has to be willing to oh, accept his deficiencies. Let's put it that way. and willing to address them before he can have a conversation with his partner.
So it starts
Uh,
with him. It
it
starts with
start
him.
it starts with him. And likewise, a woman needs to understand that she has certain deficiencies and address them before they can both sit and have a conversation. So 10 years ago, 20 years ago, my ego would have gotten in the way. Uh, so it all has to do with the maturity of the individual. Um, so it's kind of hard to say, to advise men what to do. It's all about a growing and learning process. You have to learn who you are. And I'm not saying that I know who I am. I'm still searching. Um, but I am not the same person I was a couple of years ago. So that has allowed me to I guess sit and have these conversations. Yeah.
I think that also goes for women as well, Paul, that a
Mm.
lot of women in their menopausal journey are not who they were 5 years ago, 10 years ago. If you had asked me, I would have said, absolutely not. I am not the same person I was 5, 10 years ago. Absolutely not. So, and it's all about going through an experience, learning all you can about it, and being able to share and communicate. So, I go back to a question, to an area that with you and Trudy, where, being able to have that conversation or to have that moment, then were there times that you would say that brought you closer, or did it test your relationship, like, this is happening, it's being able to have that connection. Were there any times?
Um, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I think one of the things I think with our relationship was that we we actually got the opportunity to know each other. Um, so we were dating for quite a long while, and we got the opportunity to know each other, and we could we could communicate more openly. I won't say I communicate everything, but we were able to communicate more openly. So, I mean, if once she's going through one issue, I I can easily identify that she's going through something and can approach her to say A, B, or C and would get some sort of feedback. And it would not be an argumentative discussion or whatever it is.
Mhm.
So getting to know the individual does does a lot to foster that sort of communication that you want or you're trying to get.
Hi, ladies.
Hi, Trudy. Love to hear from you.
Hi,
Thank
Trudy.
you. I just wanted to jump in a little bit to say the communication, I think it's key. The kind of relationship we have that we formed over the years, being able to talk to each other about just about anything, it makes it easier going through the changes and not feeling anxious or less of a person or not as sexy, not as beautiful. There that pressure is gone. So even there are changes and noticeable changes, that relationship, that bond that we have, it takes some of the pressure away. So like for example, weight gain, he makes me feel like I'm the sexiest person alive. So that in itself helps. so you're not feeling, oh my God, I'm changing, and is he going to love me any less or think any less of me because this is happening? And, women are always insecure about how they look as we get older. So it's a lot to take on with all the different changes that you have physically, the mood swings and everything. So it really does make a difference having that kind of a partner who supports you and is willing to learn with you, because a lot of the things that are happening that I've learned over the past months, from you and Natalie and going to the seminar, I was totally clueless before. Everything you heard was, oh, hot flashes and mood swings, hot flashes and mood swings.
I love that. So,
So,
Trudy, would you
yeah.
find, what have you guys learned about yourselves and as a couple on this menopausal journey?
Um, that the changes are here and more will come, but it
Oh, you're not
we're
here.
not going to let it define us or our relationship or make it change, the way we live our lives per se. Focus on health. That has heightened our focus on health and just doing all that we can do to not only the physical, but health wise, internally, spiritually, just to be there in all aspects of our lives and be more conscious of certain things that we may have taken for granted over the years.
Oh, how about you, Paul? That's beautiful, Trudy. I love that.
Well, as Trudy said, let me just say this. Whatever Trudy says, I agree with her 100%.
Happy wife, happy life.
And just to say that, men are also very conscious of the changes in our bodies. Yeah, we're very conscious. We may pretend as if, it doesn't bother us. Well, I know for me, I'm very conscious of it. Um, but it's sort of easier for men to be accepted the way we are. Um, and because of that, um, women have a tendency to feel a little bit more insecure uh, once they are at this stage because we're a so-called young girl or whatever will take up a man that has a belly touching the moon. It is rare that you're going to find, you know, a young guy taking up or a old man taking up a lady that looks, that has gained so much weight and whatever. So uh, we can understand where the insecurity comes from. And and as I always say to Trudy, I said, listen, yeah, you gain this weight, but listen, I see you for who you are, for what you are. I love you just the way you are. So come, hmm? Just put on something sexy and come, let's go.
Love
That's
it.
that's it.
I love
I
it.
absolutely love that. I love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. And I love what Trudy said, that you make her feel like the sexiest woman on the
Or
planet. I
or
really
or
love that.
or almost.
See,
I love that.
Well,
there's mischievous Paul.
Oh yeah,
But doing
yeah,
it
but
together,
yeah.
but that's what is so beautiful about this is that you guys are doing this journey together. And for a man, the women are going to go through it, whether we like it or not. It's happening
Mhm,
to us. We have
mhm,
no choice. Men, if, for you, you have chosen to go on the journey with her. You have chosen to
mhm,
learn, you've chosen to support. And what worries me is that there are some men who, as we've spoken about here on this episode, is they don't want to own their shortcomings, whatever that means. Could be weight gain, ED, whatever it is. They don't want to
yes,
own that.
the
So
shortcomings.
they don't support their partners. because
Mm,
it's all about them. Menopause is on you, my girl, type of thing. That's on you. But that's not the reality. The reality
mhm.
is menopause affects women, absolutely, but it affects their partners, their children, their friendships. It affects everybody around them. I mean, I think we've all done it. Oh, you buck up a miserable woman in the supermarket or a cashier. Oh, Jesus, she must have gone through menopause. Yes, my love. We all do it, but it's a reality. It affects because of the change. But for you, your role, which is amazing with Trudy, how do you see it evolving more as you continue through this menopausal journey with her?
Well, it it helps me to understand, for one. It helps me to understand women in general, and in that way, I can relate to them, so I know what to expect. I mean, as you said, you see a lady in the supermarket, miserable. They say, "Oh, she's going through menopause." So once you're able to identify, you know, what may be the cause of a particular situation, then you know how to approach the individual, and you try to break down that barrier. So as again, you say it's all about communication. So it's not just about communication with, you know, between myself and Trudy. It's about communication in general with anybody I meet out
Mhm.
there. So, I understand what might be happening. So I can have a different approach. So
I love that. I love that. And that's something that we're going to touch on next week's episode, because I'm glad that you talked on it. The whole thing of men going through andropause and testosterone and all of that. But for men, um, their mood swings, we see them. And as women, we maybe we should start having that conversation rather than, as I said earlier, just a bad day or whatever, walk away or whatever, because maybe we are able to support men in that. But to have that conversation is not easy, because if a man is not willing to receive, it's going to turn ugly fast. And that's worrisome. Yep. Not hearing you, Paul. I'm not sure if your microphone has gone, or try a
oh, are
headphone.
you
Yeah,
are you
yes,
hearing
now
me
you're
now?
back.
Oh,
Yeah, you're back.
okay. Yeah.
But yeah, so you guys going through menopause together, you just see yourself being more part of that journey with her, being more supportive of her, because she's gonna have more changes. She's gonna have more things happening to her.
Yeah. And the more she changes, the more I will learn. And I probably can expect similar sort of changes. So yeah,
To be able to
as we
apply it to
grow,
yourself, is that what you
grow.
mean? To be able to apply it to yourself.
Yes,
I
yes,
love
yes,
that.
yes,
I love
yes,
that.
because
Yeah, I think that's
I
so
do
beautiful.
believe, I do believe that um, even though we're different, yeah, men and women are different. We are experiencing a lot of similar things. Um, the the degree to which we experience them may differ, but we do experience a lot of the same things. Yeah. And we need to be able to identify that and how to approach it.
Agreed. Agreed. And on the flip side, you may experience very different things, but
True.
the causation is similar,
Is this
and
similar?
the requirements are similar. We need love, we need support, we need compassion, we need understanding, and we need to feel that you, our partner, whether it be the male partner or the female, we need to feel that our partner has a desire to travel this journey with us.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's happening to both of us. That's the thing. It is, menopause is happening to women, to partners, to children, and it's a conversation that needs to keep happening, because we have younger generation coming up, that the men, because they're not boys, the men need to
Mhm.
understand how to be aware and empathetic. And I mean, you have women who are going to be going through puberty, not puberty, but before menopause, they're going through those changes. How are the men handling that?
Perimenopause, yes.
Perimenopause, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's a conversation that needs to keep happening, that men need to be aware that it's happening, because as you said earlier, when a man ages, and they get the gray hair and they get the pot belly, and if that's, for some it's like they've reached somewhere in life now. You know, for a woman, if we're getting hair, which we do, and we're gaining weight and we're getting gray hairs, it's like, no, this is not. So there's a vast difference.
We have a lot of work to do, Nikki, about changing the narrative.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It has to change a conversation, just like how we've had the conversation about menopause and what women are going through. The men need to do the same. They need to have that conversation because it is
Yeah.
happening to them. It's not that they are there to fix and solve their wife or their partner. That's not what we're asking for, but being aware of what is going on with you and
Yeah.
how can we come together
Mhm.
to do this journey? As you said, you made the choice to come to our conference to learn for yourself. And in learning for that, meaning for to help with Trudy, and in doing that, you've learned so much about yourself because you're like light bulbs were going off for you.
Yes. Yes. And
Maybe
So
we
what
need to do a roving microphone, Nikki. Maybe you and I need to go to all the little rum bars and countryside places and places where men gather. I mean, not to stereotype that men are in rum bars, but all the places that men gather. And we need to start to do like a little, like a little interview series, like an impromptu reality TV kind of thing, and just be, and just spread the word that way so that we can support each other. Because I think, let me tell you something. I think our nation would be a whole lot more peaceful and loving if we understood the changes that are happening and learned to support each other through the changes.
would you say,
that
Paul?
I agree, but I was thinking of being a little bit more provocative. You, you could approach it from you need to go to where both the men and women are, yeah, and have the conversation
Oh.
with both right there,
Love that.
and see the responses that you get from each
Because,
party.
because truthfully, Paul, if you had the conversation with a man on his own in a rum bar or wherever, you're going to get a different response than if he's standing next to his partner.
I
Exactly.
know, but I
Exactly.
feel like I want the unbiased, unedited version.
You're going to get kickback though, Nats. You're going to get
Yeah.
resistance. You're going to get
Yes.
resistance.
Mm,
Because what you're going to hear
Is the
is
ego.
the ego,
mm-hmm,
Yeah.
right?
mm,
You're going to hear
yeah.
the old adage, oh, yeah, man, woman get miserable, da 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 da, I can't talk to her, etc., etc. So, you know, approaching, you about them up at a party, you just ask the question,
Mm-hmm.
does this happen? You know, blah blah blah. The same questions you're asking. And see the response.
I love that. So in the last couple of minutes, Paul, because we only have a minute left, what
Mhm.
advice? I mean, you said a lot of this started for you by going to the live conference that we did last year. What advice would you give men? I mean, Natalie and I are planning to do this again in May, by the way. So we're going to be doing it again. I'm hoping
Yes.
we're hoping to get more men into that room, which we will
Yes.
definitely do. But in the interim, what advice would you give a man who may be thinking about it? Maybe there's a little twinge going on. What would you tell him at this point to enter this world then that we're in, this phase that both man and woman are going through?
My advice to men would be if there's an opportunity to attend conference or some seminar, something like that, please make the effort to go. It it makes your life easier, understand it, full stop.
Okay.
And may I say this? If you have a next seminar, just 1 minute. Um, if you put menopause, men won't go. Yeah.
Okay.
So it needs to be menopause and something else.
Yes.
Because who I am, I really attended. Yeah. So you need something to pull the men out. So just put in menopause, whatever. Menopause deals with women. So they're not really interested in that.
Okay. That's good to know. Nats and I are actually working on that right now, right, Nat?
Yeah, no, that's great advice. Yes, Nikki,
Yeah.
we're working on it.
Right. No. What I mean is this is such great timing that you and I are
Yes,
actually in the throes of pulling it all
we are.
together. So hearing that feedback from you is amazing. That is what we need to hear on
We may
how we
call
can
on you.
attract. Yes, how to attract.
Yeah. Feel free to call on me anytime. I'm willing to
Oh, this
assist.
is awesome. Paul, this has been amazing. And what else I'd like to say is for men is if as they're shy or they don't it's uncomfortable, is there other ways you can go on YouTube, you can research in the privacy of your home, your phone. Nobody has to know because however you get this knowledge, gentlemen, because I who have been watching this replay, however you get this knowledge, just get it. If it's going to a conference is not for you, that's okay. Go on YouTube, do whatever you need to, but just get the knowledge, get the awareness, the get it started, start having that internal conversation is what I would say. Awesome.
Yes.
This has been amazing. Paul and Trudy, thank you so much for today.
Yes, thank you, thank you.
This one has really lit us up right now. So we love this because it's a whole new dimension for us in the direction that we're going in with
Absolutely.
menopause.
And we
Love
appreciate your openness and your honesty and your sharing and letting us into your space.
Awesome.
You on
You're
behalf of Judy and
welcome.
myself, I thank you.
Alrighty, guys. Thanks again and have a wonderful rest of your Monday.
All right, thank you very much.
Alrighty. Bye bye.
Bye bye.